So, hi Blake. I hope this comes across fine. It's the first one I'm doing, so let me look at my notes while I give you some feedback. The project that you're working on is really interesting, and there's some components that I think you need to think about a little bit as I saw your presentation. One of them is early in the presentation you talk about historic preservation, and that's really my area of interest. But the only way I saw preservation actually used was in keeping the old docks, basically. I think that there's an opportunity to perhaps use that in a more sophisticated or more interesting way than simply that. Whether it's adapted reuse, which I believe was part of what you were doing by establishing a park and also cleansing the water. I don't know if you've looked at it in terms of the precedent study, but Julie Bargman's addressing of urban outfitters at the Formal Naval Yard in Pennsylvania is a really good case study where it shows how she maintained some of the historic elements but made it into a contemporary design while also cleaning up the site a bit. So that I think would be a really good case study if you haven't looked at it. Another opportunity I think that you've got is to maybe embed some of the old materials into the redesign to create levels of meaning. That, what I mean by that is if you pull out old docks, could you reuse that in other forms and keep that meaning from the history of the materials into the new form so that you might be able to layer the social and cultural history back into the site by reuse. I was a little bit confused at the end with the successes and failures component because I didn't understand that those actually went to your three concepts. I had to look at that part twice in order to understand what that went to. So I don't think that organization at the end was really clear. I think that I needed to see some kind of a graphic of your original concept with where you thought the failures and successes were. One concept I thought was interesting, initially I thought that the form one with using a boat was too obvious, that it was, I don't know, an obvious solution, I guess, to a wharf. But what I really liked was when you deconstructed it. And the most interesting plan that I saw was the red one. It seemed like that one spatially had the most interesting set of forms. The relationship study, I thought provided interesting forms, but I just wasn't sure how practical they were. You know, I didn't see an analysis of circulation or things like that that would maybe be some of the drivers for making sure that those forms actually work. When I saw the overhead study, as interesting as the forms were, it seems like a detail, and wondered why you needed an overhead. You know, is it for weather protection? Do those forms transition from the architecture that you're going to keep? You may want to look to some of the architecture. I think you're maintaining some of the old buildings in a way that some of those details can be addressed or reused, because I wasn't really sure what that was for. One thing also is there's a lot of misspellings in the YouTube written up components. You may want to go back. Francisco is misspelled, and then identity is also misspelled, so you may want to go back and fix that before you get too many more reviews. But really interesting project. It'll be interesting to see how you begin to blend preservation with restoration into some brand new forms. So feel free to always ask me if you have more questions about my feedback. Thanks. Bye.